Before we get started, we just want to announce for anyone interested in ordering Mr. Lindell's 4-CD set, go to metaphysicalarttheater.com. For those in the U.S., you can order either physical copies or the digital downloads. For those outside the U.S., you can order the digital downloads by going to metaphysicalarttheater.com.
How you doing, sir?
Just fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, I'm looking forward to the talk. What we're going to be talking about today is feeling after him.
Okay, that sounds good. Feeling after him. The him that you're feeling after is you. Doing, being, and having your ideal, your dream, your mission, your goal, but it's the you doing it that makes it so. We are the makers of our world. I mean, we are the makers of our world, are we not?
We are.
There you are. You're on all the time. There's no off. You're on all the time. What are you thinking, feelingly, generally, most of the time? If you would listen to it, you would see what your future is in front of you, because it's not falling into the past. What you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're feeling is not falling into the past. It is being projected into our future. And so you're going to be experiencing what you're thinking about right now. Make it lovely and a good report is the suggestion of Scripture, because that's what you'll be experiencing if that's what you're thinking. And if not, well, whatever you're thinking, that's what you'll be experiencing, because you're always thinking ahead of your evidence. Isn't that so?
It is so. And I find that sometimes people are violently opposed to this message. Why is that?
Well, you get brought up, you get conditioned, you get hypnotized, you get mesmerized by the ongoing drama when you enter in, when you're innocent, totally innocent. And God knows that you were innocent when you entered in, and that you would be conditioned by those all around you. And I'm not saying it was good or bad. I'm just saying you were conditioned. And further than that, other people's minds, suggestions to you make you think of things that you would not normally think of, possibly. So you have to pay attention to what you're allowing yourself to entertain as thought, because literally that's your world of experiencing. And if you don't like it, change your mind, change your world. Wouldn't you say?
I would. I find that many people are having challenges when it comes to feeling after him. And as you stated, him is your own imagination. Neville will often call that imagination God. Now, when people hear the term God, they think of this being on the outside of them. And what they don't realize is that we're talking about the God within them. Is that correct?
Yes. And what it is, you see, you're in charge. You were given charge. And you're in charge, but are you awake in charge, or are you asleep? You see, that's it. We're all asleep in varying degrees of intensity and intent. But the point is, what is your intent? This moment, decide what is your intent to be doing, to be thinking, to be feeling, because that's what you're going to be experiencing. When it tells you to feel after him, if you wanted to own a ranch with horses to ride, then you would see yourself on the ranch, riding the horses around, standing there, feeding them, combing them, petting them, whatever it is you do. That's you doing, being, and having. And it's what you will be doing, being, and having in your senses now. Now is the pointed hour of desired change. Feel after him. And it's the feeling is the secret. You see, you can think about it, but that's still just thinking about it. If you're thinking from it And that's you imagining you doing, being, and having. Do so frequently. And it's God's promise. He'll give it to you. I mean, do you believe God? I mean, I don't think he'd lie to you. Do you?
I don't. And that's the question. Do you believe God? And I think that many of us, myself included, I believed in God at a surface level. But when it came to ownership of the things that I said that I wanted or desired, I believed that those forces were outside of me. Would you agree?
Yes. And as long as they're outside of you, you have denied yourself, right?
Absolutely.
No, that's what we're doing. We keep denying it. You set it all up and in favor of what you want, but then you don't take possession of it. You know, you're told when you pray, believe that you have already received that for which you're asking. Is that so simple? I mean, is that too simple or is that too hard or what? I don't really understand it, but it tells you very plainly, this is God talking to you, telling you to pray, believing that you have received. So he's already said yes, and then you denied it by getting up without it. That's the way it works, isn't it?
It is. You asked the question, is that too simple? And I think it goes back to what you stated earlier about our upbringing. A lot of times we associate, like the word belief, for example, belief to many people don't all mean the same thing. So if I believe that I'm hoping for something, my hoping for something to me is my believing, but I really don't think that I'm going to have what it is that I say that I'm hoping for. I'm just hoping for it that by some chance, by some miracle of God, it's going to fall out of the sky and I'm going to have it. And then I'm frustrated because the process seems not to work. Would you agree?
Yes. Yes, I agree. Neville would say, be aware of the voice behind the voice. They're both yours. See, you're saying one thing with your mouth, but you're thinking something different in your mind. And that's double-mindedness. And it tells you very plainly, do not let the double-minded man think he will anything. And that's male, female, made he them, man. So everybody's included. Nobody is left out. And nobody's lost. Because would he not leave the 90 and 9 to go find that one? And that's how I felt saved. I was sure I was that one. Actually, we all are that one. But you can change your mind and change your will. You're told to do so. That's all you're asked to do is change your mind, change your state of consciousness, and you change your world. So he gave you an out, and you can take it. You can feel it. And feeling is the secret, and the secret is revealed in the silence. Be still and know that I'm God. We're all makers of our worldly experience. Are we not?
We are. And I like that you said about the 99 and 1. And, I think a lot of times people hear this message and they often think that it's for someone else. Or ego will rise up and say, well, look, he's only got 2,000 people following him. So his message can't be that important, or a whole bunch of more people will be following. And it's ego speaking to that individual so that the individual doesn't get this message that she is choosing for themselves the world that they will create. Would you agree?
Yes. Most people show up at your meetings not in the right mind, not in the right state of mind, because they've already defeated themselves before they ever even got there. So actually, you'd be better off just staying at home and actually thinking about what you're doing to yourself, through yourself, by your thinking feelingly, because we're told that every word Every word must be taken in the culmination to make up your life. And it does, because you're always thinking ahead of your evidence. And your evidence is your experiencing. What are you experiencing? Is it lovely and of good report? If not, why not? You're given, choose this day, and that's what you're given to choose from whatsoever. Surely you can think of something better than what you are doing. Think upon that. Feelingly, that's the secret, isn't it?
It is the secret. Now, I want to go back. You said everyone is thinking. The question is to contemplate what it is that you're thinking, and surely you can think better than what it is that you've presently been thinking in order to get something more. And often people will say, well, give us the 1, 2, 3 of manifestation, for example. And if you listen to the message, this is what they're getting, but everybody wants formulas. Everybody wants these how-tos. You get a message, and then all of a sudden it's a great sounding message, and you leave not practicing what's been given. Would you agree?
Actually, they're avoiding the responsibility of doing the practice. And they're looking for reasons to avoid it so that they feel as though they haven't avoided anything. Look, simply as you think, you are, you do, you have, you be. If you want different, then you have to start thinking different. And is that not what it is? That you're no longer thinking as man-mind reasoning would think, but beyond it. And you're given to go beyond natural man-mind reasoning. You're told to go in the closet, close the door, when you're alone, speak to your Father which is in heaven. When you're alone, does that not say you're one? You turn to me, I'll turn to you. He's already said yes. He's already said yes to everything. If you could clearly announce what it is that you really want to do, to be, to have, and then stick with it. I am that. You have to start claiming it. I am that. Because that's who you are, if that's who you think you are. But if you don't think so, then you're not. Look, we're told very clearly that as you think, you are. Now, you don't have to talk to anybody else to think. You can think quite quietly, and that is what you should do. Think quietly, all alone. Attitude awareness and imaginational control. Everything is imagined. I mean, just look around you. Right here in this room, thousands of items. And all of them have one thing in common. They were first only imagined. And you're imagining what? You're thinking feelingly ahead of what? What feeling? What are you looking for? What do you think's looking for you? Because what you're looking for is what is looking for you. Whatever attitude you send out your message, you're feeling with, that's exactly what will return. So it's attitude awareness, imaginational control for exactly that. Control. You ask how to do it. You have to be in control. You have to be the thinking, feeling being. And you are. Do so. Ask. Believing is receiving. Is that clear enough?
It is clear enough. And I want to do this just for the moment. I want for all of you that may not believe in a deity outside of yourself, forget that. Erase it. Remove it from the context. Hear what he's saying. He's saying you have to take control of your thinking. Now, I could go back and say, well, God's working through you. Forget that for just a moment. And take responsibility for what it is that you're giving your attention to. Mr. Lindell said, say that I am that. Now, it's not enough to just say it. You have to become it. You have to clothe yourself in it. Now, at first, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's not even going to feel natural, but you keep doing it until it becomes a part of who you are. Would you agree?
Yes, yes. Anything you start off with, you do poorly, right? You have to have a few shots at it to get the hang of it, you might say. But you can do that. And it only takes a few moments. The thing of it is that contemplation and meditation doesn't have to take a long time. If it's productive, it's productive. If it's productive for an idea, one thought, then it's productive. And you're given to do that. You're given to choose what you'll think about. And what you think about is what you'll be experiencing. And if that's okay, then keep thinking the same way. Just expand and expand on it. But if it's not working out that way, if you find you're not satisfied with the way things are going for you, then it's very simple to change your mind. You're told to think on things that are lovely and of good report. Now, if you were looking to be a success at something, then you would see yourself being a success at it. See people agreeing with what you're saying because they believe you. But I'm not expecting you to believe me, and I know DeCarlo is not expecting you to believe him. We're expecting you to search in yourself to see what it is you actually believe. I know we'd like to tell you what to believe, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to tell you that as you think, you are. And that's what you're interested in, is what you are. And if you're interested in what you are or what you can be, then think upon that. See yourself doing, being, and having your ideal, your dream, your mission. And think of this also. When the people fail to dream, they start to die. Isn't that the case?
It is absolutely the case. And I like that you've given them the how-to of desired change if they will take hold of it. And what we're not saying is that this is a simple process. It's simple in the application of understanding or hearing the words, but when you go to implement this, because we have so much programming, it's not easy. So start small. Start seeing yourself, as it were, go to the store and carrying out that process to its completion. Go to the store, get what it was that you had imagined yourself to get while you were at the store. Everything starts in mind. What we're asking you to do is to use that muscle called the mind and begin to exercise it. Would you agree?
That's it. I don't know of anything so monumental that you would start already knowledgeable of, but you're operating in faith. In other words, you don't yet understand what is happening, but you will understand what is happening if you will allow yourself to entertain the thoughts. And you're told to think only on things that are lovely and of good report. Now, we say lovely and good report. What that means to us and what it means to you might be altogether different. And I'm sure that it would be. But you have an idea of what you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to have. All you have to do is just live in it. Just like you're living in this, you live in it. All in mind, in imagination, in the theater of mind, you can play the part. You're just what you're doing right now, and you say, but this is solid and real, and that's just thoughtfulness. But all of it is just thoughtfulness. This is a world of thought, and thought is manifested in our world as you think you are. So it's really a very simple idea, but it's very hard to grasp onto because of our prior conditioning. I mean, I don't know how old you are listening, but if you're 100, it wouldn't make any difference. It's still as you think you are, you do, you have, you be. If you'll just understand that right there long enough to get the idea in mind so that it's on automatic, because all of this is on automatic. You're told, ask, believing is receiving. That's automatic. If you're asking, believing, you're receiving. That's on automatic. You're playing this on automatic. Act like it. Because we're told, and Shakespeare said it perfectly, all the world's a stage and all the men and women are merely actors. The question is, did you choose the part that you're playing? Because if you didn't choose it, then you might not be enjoying it. So if you start choosing it, choose right now. Choose the part that you want to play. In imagination, in the theater of your mind, that's where we do our work of having our world created an exact degree. As you think, you are. Just keep it simple. You'll remember it. If you remember it, you'll probably do it more often. If you forget it, well, that's where you're at then. When you say that's it.
I would. I know you recall the movie The Matrix, and I want to use this example for the listeners. Neo, Morpheus and Neo were having this conversation, and Morpheus told Neo that he could take on many personifications or states, but he would have to take these cards, and they would put these different cards into the system, and then all of a sudden he would know how to fight like Bruce Lee, for example. Mm-hmm. You're that individual, the person listening, but you've brought into the conditioning of the world around you, or what has been told you, or what you believe to be yourself. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they themselves are makers of themselves. I mean, that's right out of Scripture. They're telling you that you're makers of yourself by your thinking, feelingly, suggesting to yourself, or analyzing good ideas to dust, which I did for a long time. But when you find a good idea, open it and quicken it. And you know what? A good idea makes you feel uplifted. So if you're in that uplifted state, don't stop. Feel after it, and you'll find it. What? You doing, being, and having your ideal. It's always you doing, because there's only you in your world of doing. What are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Because feeling is the secret. As a man thinketh in his heart, that's your feeling nature. It's simple. It really is simple. Because there would be always those poor in spirit. Jesus said it, the poor in spirit shall be with us always. Those who cannot think straight for themselves, but listen to what other people are saying without actually examining what they said. I didn't say turn it into dust. No, just think about what you're hearing. It's your story. You're the one who does the thinking, feeling in your world. And your world is as you're thinking and feeling. Change it. Even a little bit, just to see if it works. It does. And once you find out, no one will have to encourage you. You'll encourage yourself, wouldn't you say?
I would. You made me think about a young man who said that he had struggled with these principles for years. And he said, you know what? Let me listen to what it is that Mr. Lindell and DeCarlo are talking about, and let me apply it. He said his world started to change. He started getting opportunities. This is not about us. Would you agree?
Yes, of course. It's always about the individual. There's really no separation. It's one God, all things to all, and that alone should be religion enough for anybody. There's only God. There is no devil if you don't make them up. But that's what you do. We make up our own devils. We make up our own problems, and then we cry and whine about it. We complain about it, and all you're doing is getting more to complain about, because all things produce after their own kind, and you're setting a kind. What kind are you setting when you're setting and thinking? What are you actually manifesting in your world of experiencing? because it's you doing so. You're the one who's manifesting your world moment by moment because you're told to ask believing, and you do believe something, and that's what you're receiving. Is it what you want? If not, change your mind, change your world. It acts on automatic. Automatically operate it and see. Wouldn't you think?
I would. And I like that you said earlier about the poor in spirit, and the poor in spirit are those who may not be able to direct their thinking the way that they desire early on. Now, there's also those who are heightened in spirit, and they take these principles and they just come natural to them, and they use them, they manifest, and because they manifest so easily, they think that the world around them should be able to do it exactly like they're able to, and it's just not so because everybody's not at the same level. Would you agree?
That's it. We're all asleep in varying degrees of intensity and intent. And what is your intent? See, that's all you have to ask yourself. What is your intent? What is it you aim to do? What is it you really, really want to do? A passion. Because you can. That's what he's telling you. You can do this. I'm telling you, you can do this. There is, you can whatsoever choose this day. That's your gift. We are told that worshiping God is using his gifts. And that is the gift. Whatsoever. What are you choosing? Isn't that the question? What are you choosing?
It is the question. And I'd like to touch back on what you just stated. Desire is your indicator that you can have what it is that you want by the mere fact that you're desiring it. Would you agree?
That's right. That's why you're given these degrees of feeling better than the best that you've ever felt. It's like being happy is choosing to be happy. Wouldn't you say?
I would.
I mean, you're to choose it. You see someone sitting around grumpy and all that. Well, why? For what? What is it getting you? I mean, how are you being happy in a state like that? Change it. You're told change your mind, change your world. That's what you're changing. You're changing your state of consciousness, and you can do so. And all you have is just a little bit of information that you agree with, and then you've just changed your mind and changed your world to that degree. So it's not a real big thing all at once, but it can be. I mean, I've read it in Scripture where people just turned right around and walked out, just gone. You can do this. Jesus told you himself. He said, these things I do, you can do also. Now, to me, that's staggering. What did he do? Well, he brought the dead back to life. I mean, that's pretty substantial to me, isn't it to you?
It is. He walked on water.
Yeah, right. And then he even gave another to walk on the water. But what happened? His natural man mind reasoning said, whoa, and down he went. That's what we do. We ask for it. We have it because we ask for it. But do we get up and take it with us when we leave the prayer session? See, that's the whole thing. When you pray, believe that you have received that for which you're asking. I mean, could it be stated any simpler? Really? Just go over it a few times in your mind, and he gave you exactly what you asked for. How? And he told you how. All you have to do is do it. And you can do it because he told you to do it. And if God told you to do it, then you can do it. You may not because he gave you, choose this day. So you can always find a reason. You can justify anything if you want to. I mean, if you really want to justify it, you can. So it's you denying you if you don't accept what you were given. And there's so much more offered to you, through you. But you have to show up. You have to show up ready to receive. Because what you get is what you expect, not necessarily what you want. Unless they are the same thing. But you do get what you expect. So if you're not prepared to expect, then wait until you are. In other words, go over and over it until it becomes alive in your world of experiencing. And it will. All things produce after their own kind. You're making a kind in your mind, in the mind of imagination, you doing, being, and having. That's what you're doing. And if you're doing it often enough, you're creating that very thing by your choice. Not your labor, but your choice. Choose this day. That's what we're all given.